When my husband, a lawyer, started dating his mistress and attempted to steal our $1 million apartment, he didn't know one thing. His own father had sealed his fate years ago. My name is Emily, and I want to share the story of how my husband James betrayed me in the most despicable way. I'm 32 years old and work as the editor-in-chief at a large publishing house. I started as a simple proofreader 10 years ago, and now I lead an entire department and oversee the release of bestsellers. The job provides a good income. Not millions, of course, but enough for a comfortable life in a nice neighborhood and regular yoga sessions that help me stay in shape. I met James in a cafe near the publishing house. He came in during his lunch break, tall, fit, in an expensive suit. A typical successful lawyer from a major firm. Our eyes met, and there was a spark between us. Maybe I was drawn to his confidence and straightforwardness, and he to the fact that I wasn't pretending to be hard to get, like most women in such places. We dated for 2 years before getting married. His father, a partner in a law firm, insisted on a prenuptial agreement. I didn't object. I was marrying for love, not money. I signed it without even reading it thoroughly. As it turned out later, this would come back to haunt James. 3 years ago, we bought a luxurious apartment in the center. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a stunning view of the city. I contributed most of the down payment from an inheritance left by my grandmother. A wise woman, she always told me, "Emily, keep some money separate from your husband. You never know when you might need it." I wish I'd listened to her other advice. For a while, life was wonderful. I was building a successful career in publishing. James was thriving in his law firm. We had our rituals. I practiced yoga in the mornings. He went to his elite gym. Sometimes we met for lunch when time allowed. An ordinary family life. Even our arguments seemed normal. He complained about my work obsession. I was angry when he stayed late at the office. The first warning signs appeared 6 months ago. James suddenly became very interested in the apartment documents. He asked about the mortgage, the deed, all those boring legal papers. I paid it no mind. He's a lawyer, after all. That's his work. Besides, I was busy preparing a new bestseller for release and working 12-hour days. The oddities continued. One evening I returned from yoga, and James was at his laptop with some documents. "Darling," he said in an unusually sweet voice, "I've been looking at our mortgage rates. I think we should refinance the loan." James never called me darling unless he wanted something. "I have a better credit score," he continued, showing some figures. "If we refinance under my name alone, we can save $200 a month." When I asked about my name in the documents, he waved it off. "We'll add it later. It's just a formality for the bank. You trust me, don't you?" That last phrase triggered all my alarm bells. James was always straightforward. Such manipulations were not his style. I started noticing other oddities. James was staying late at work almost every evening. His explanations sounded unconvincing. Important case, client meeting, urgent documents. One night he came home smelling of women's perfume. Not mine. When I pointed it out, he got flustered. "Oh, it must be from a client. I was consulting her on a divorce case." The real shock came when my friend Sarah sent me a photo. In it, James was sitting in the LeBlanc restaurant with a striking brunette. They looked too close for a business meeting. It turned out to be Jessica Porter, a well-known real estate expert. A charming predator specializing in expensive properties in the city center. I didn't create a scene. Instead, I turned to my old friend Linda, one of the city's best divorce lawyers. We met in college, and she always said I could rely on her. Linda immediately became suspicious hearing about the refinancing attempt. "Emily, this is a classic scheme," she said. "First, the property is retitled, then quickly sold and divorced. I've seen this dozens of times." Linda hired a private investigator, a former police officer named Mike. Within a week, he compiled an impressive dossier. Photos of James and Jessica in various restaurants, recordings of their conversations about the apartment sale, documents showing that James opened a separate account and transferred money there. But the most interesting thing Mike captured was at the Ritz Hotel. James and Jessica were discussing how to forge my signature on property transfer documents. "Once the apartment is titled to you, we'll sell it quickly," Jessica said. "These publishing rats never read the fine print." At that moment, I realized the irony of the situation. James was so caught up in his scheme that he forgot about the prenuptial agreement insisted on by his own father. Linda found a perfect clause. Any attempt to conceal or fraudulently transfer joint property results in the guilty party losing all rights to it. At home, I continued playing the unsuspecting wife role. James became bolder. One morning, the bank called to verify the transfer of all our savings to a new account. Good thing I had already moved most of the money to a separate account that Linda helped set up. The showdown came on Thursday. James came home with a businesslike air in his expensive Tom Ford suit. "We need to talk," he began. "I've filed for divorce. All the documents are ready. The apartment is now titled to me, but I'm willing to be generous. You can take your personal belongings and car." I just nodded and said, "All right, see you in court." His smug smile faded slightly. On the day of the trial, I wore my best Chanel suit. Linda arrived early with 3 huge folders of evidence. James appeared with Jessica. She wore a white pantsuit that probably cost as much as an editor's monthly salary. The judge, a woman in her 60s with a keen eye, began the session. James confidently stated that the apartment now belonged to him, and I had no rights to it. He even magnanimously offered me to keep my personal belongings. Linda stood up with her signature smile. "Your Honor, before we proceed, I'd like to present some evidence regarding the property transfer." James waved dismissively. "All the documents are in order." "Oh yes, particularly interesting is how they were processed," Linda replied, and began laying out photos. With each new photo, James's face grew paler. "These photos, Your Honor, show Mr. Wilson and Ms. Porter meeting with a known document forger. We have a complete video recording of the $10,000 transfer for falsifying Mrs. Wilson's signature." James jumped up. "Objection! These photos could be anything." The judge looked at him over her glasses. "Mr. Wilson, sit down. I want to hear this." Linda played the audio recording. James's voice was perfectly clear. "Once we retitle the apartment, we'll sell it quickly, before she catches on." Jessica nervously fiddled with her Cartier bracelet, clearly a gift from James. "Furthermore, Your Honor," Linda continued, "according to the prenuptial agreement, any attempt at fraudulent transfer of joint property leads to forfeiture of all rights to it." She produced the contract. Paragraph 7, Clause 3, which, by the way, was prepared by Mr. Wilson's father's law firm. James looked as if he'd been punched in the gut. Jessica started collecting her designer bag, clearly preparing for retreat. But the surprises weren't over. An elegant middle-aged woman entered the courtroom, the senior partner at the law firm where James worked. "Your Honor," she said, "our firm would like to make a statement regarding Mr. Wilson's unethical conduct." "Mr. Wilson used firm resources to execute a fraudulent scheme," continued the partner. We've conducted an internal investigation and found this isn't his first such attempt. James literally collapsed into his chair, his face ashen. Jessica tried to slip out of the courtroom unnoticed, but the judge stopped her. Ms. Porter, you're not going anywhere. Your involvement demands examination as well. The judge took off her glasses and announced the decision. Considering the evidence presented, the court decrees the attempted fraudulent property transfer is voided. The apartment remains in joint ownership. But according to the prenuptial agreement, Mr. Wilson loses all rights to it due to fraud attempt. Additionally, at that moment, James's father entered the courtroom. I'll never forget the expression on his face, a mix of anger and disappointment. James, he said quietly, but each word struck like a hammer. You've disgraced our family and firm. You can look for a new job. When the court session concluded, everyone sat in silence, processing what had happened. James, pale and lost, suddenly stood up, his eyes a mix of shock and confusion. Emily, he began, nervously fiddling with the corner of the table. Wait, this is a misunderstanding. I can explain everything. His voice trembled. He never expected his plan to unravel like this. I looked at him, trying to keep my emotions in check. James, you tried to steal our apartment and betrayed not only me, but your family. I replied coldly, making an effort to contain my anger. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's the consequences of your actions. Jessica stood nearby, trying to seem invisible. James, I didn't think it would go this far, she whispered, avoiding my gaze. I thought we were just giving you a new life and— Shut up, Jessica, James interrupted her with an irritated voice. You promised everything would go smoothly. What kind of new life is this when I've lost everything because of your ideas? There was desperate anger in his words. I had never seen him like this before. I turned to James. It's not just her fault. It was your choice. You chose this path yourself, and now you have to live with the consequences. With each word, I felt the tension in my chest gradually easing. After the trial, heading home, I saw Linda waiting for me by the exit. She smiled at me, embracing me like an old friend. Emily, you handled this with dignity. It's all behind you now, she said, soothing my troubled soul. Months passed. I focused on my work and new beginnings, leaving the past behind. At one of the publishing events, amidst the bustling atmosphere of a book launch, Michael, an architect with bright, clear eyes and calm confidence, approached me. We started talking about design, about books, and there was an effortless understanding between us. Later, over dinner, Michael asked, Emily, we were happy yesterday and will be happy tomorrow, but what about the present? His sincerity made me smile, and I replied, The present is the path we choose. I choose to live here and now with those who truly matter to me. Every smile, every new encounter confirmed that life goes on and brings new opportunities. Karma is indeed a tough thing, but I am grateful for the lessons it taught me. Did you like the story? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next interesting story. See you tomorrow.